And we are live. Thank you guys for coming. I've been kind of going through some secret documents lately on the podcast, talking about Mormonism and Jehovah's Witnesses and Scientology, just kind of finding these documents that people aren't supposed to see and showing them the light of day. But I figured it's about time we kind of talked about some books that are more common, that Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons and others commonly use in worship, just to kind of get a feel for what they say in them and what they're kind of teaching their members. So I remember when I was young, this will date me because Jehovah's Witnesses operates completely differently now. And I'm sure you guys have probably heard this from me before. But for those of you who haven't heard this from me, Jehovah's Witnesses, they used to have 3 meetings a week. Now they're down to 2. So it used to be the Sunday meeting, which was almost always in the mornings, from like 10 a.m. to noon. And then they'd have the Monday night meeting, which is the book study. For me, it was Monday night. That would vary from congregation to congregation. But that was an hour long, and you'd go to somebody's house and somebody in the congregation, and you would, they'd set up like cheese platters, and, you'd all sit down and study a book, a specific book that the Jehovah's Witnesses outlined and wanted you to study. So every Jehovah's Witness across the country is studying the same book on the same chapters at the same time every week. And that was an hour long. And after it was over, you'd socialize and walk around, and you'd eat food and drink soda and chit-chat. And, and the kids would get to hang out. It was probably 1/4, 1/5 of the congregation. It was usually split up that way. And then you had the Wednesday night meetings. And the Wednesday night meetings were an hour and 45 minutes. As far as I can remember, it was from, I feel like it went to 9:15. So it was from 7:30 to 9:15, I think. And that's where they had things like the Kingdom Ministry School, where people would read, from the Bible. And I don't know, when I was young, they would give me speaking parts at the Wednesday night meeting. So they'd tell me, you're going to read this chapter of the Bible. It's a 5-minute talk, so get up there and do the reading, and then get down and you're done. And as you advance, they'd give you this book once you got on the talk circuit or whatever. And it was called, I don't remember. Something like Theocratic Ministry School Guidebook or something. It was a red book. And it was really, really useful. I mean, it taught you how to do public speaking. It taught you how to hold eye contact. It was really, really good. I learned everything I know about public speaking from that book. And, of course, I've read it since then from other places. But that book really got me interested in public speaking and taught me how to speak to a crowd and keep their attention, things like that. So, anyways, as I was saying, so the Monday night meetings, they have been cut. They've just eliminated those. They kind of combined it with Wednesday night, from my understanding, and it's just called the midweek meeting now. And of course, not all meetings are on, at 10 a.m. to noon on Sundays anymore, because now you've got congregations sharing kingdom halls. So you've got to have one at 10 a.m., one at 2 p.m., and then one at 5 p.m. or something on Sunday, right? So you got 3 or 4 kingdom halls. 3 or 4 congregations sharing the same kingdom hall. So, anyway, back to the point. When I was younger, I think I was probably 5 or 6, they were studying the Revelation book. And that book is where they made a lot of claims about the United Nations being the great beast from Revelation, and all kinds of really, really crazy stuff. It is such a crazy book. Actually, let me go grab it. I have it right on my shelf. One second. Yeah, so I've got the Revelation book here. And they actually sent out some revisions. So the one that I have is original. And I bought it on Amazon used. And I don't know, like, I feel like it was so worth my money. This is the so this is the first edition book that I have. And just looking at, like, comparing what they changed in the new edition versus the old edition is so fascinating, because they changed some really specific verbiage in it. And I don't know, one of these days I'll go through that. I'll have to download the PDFs and do the comparisons. But anyways, yeah, it's a really fascinating book, and I think we studied it at the book study when I was 5 or 6. And eventually we ended up moving on to, I think, the Greatest Man book. I think it was called The Greatest Man Who Ever Lived, or something like that. That's definitely dating me. I don't think that book even exists anymore. Let's see. We've studied a number of them through the years. And eventually, when I was kind of getting to my teen years, I think, we studied the What Does the Bible Really Teach book. Yeah, somebody in the .nerd in the chat on Discord said, "Damn, Telltale old as fuck." Yeah, that's correct. That is a true fact, not a false fact. So, anyways, we studied the What Does the Bible Really Teach book, but when we studied it in my teens, it was a yellow book. It wasn't this color that you see on the live stream now. For those of you watching the live stream, let's just take a quick look. Yeah, so this is the one that we studied when I was a teenager. It's this big yellow one here. Actually, it was kind of small. It was a small yellow one. But anyway, this is the book through some revisions and things like that. I kind of wish I'd got the original, but because I'm sure they had some choice stuff in there. But I figure it'll be worth it just to kind of go through here and, see what Jehovah's Witnesses are teaching their people. So let's just go to chapter 1, page 3. Oh, you know what? I'm not even going to use the table of contents this time. See, they invented it in the 80s, and we didn't even need it after all. Okay. So Jehovah's Witnesses are really well known for their graphic imagery and artwork. I mean, somebody put this stuff together. And look, this is art. I mean, this isn't photographs. This is actual, like, painting kind of, or digital or something. Somebody drew this stuff. This is really, really beautiful. Like, they did a really good job with this. And actually, before we go further, let's see. Let me just, excuse me. Let me just pull up a Revelation book in Google Images, because they had some really, really amazing artwork in this book. This is a book I was just talking about a second ago, the Revelation book. And it's, I don't know, the artwork is just so beautiful. It's kind of a shame they were completely batshit crazy and making insane claims. But really, it's so nice. I mean, they did such a good job on some of this artwork. Look at it. Look, this is the harlot riding the wild beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. I mean, they just did a really good job with this artwork, and I'm genuinely impressed by that. But anyway, back to the, I keep getting sidetracked here. Okay, let's close that, go back to the Bible Teach book. So, this is, this is all artwork, but let's see what it says here. Read any, so is this what God purposed? Read any newspaper, look at television, or listen to the radio. There are so many stories of crime, war, and terrorism. Think about your own troubles. Perhaps illness or the death of a loved one is causing you great distress. You may feel like the good man Job, who said that he was filled with dishonor and affliction. Job 10:15. Ask yourself, is this what God purposed for me and for the rest of mankind? Where can I find help to cope with my problems? Is there any hope that we will ever see peace on earth? The Bible provides satisfying answers to these questions. So this is kind of a common theme with Jehovah's Witnesses. They will just at the beginning of a chapter or even a paragraph or a subheading or a book, they will list these questions that they want you to find the answers to in this book. So just if we skip down for a second here a little bit, you'll notice that in this book it's just kind of standard format where you've got chapter 1, and then you've got these paragraphs, and they're numbered. Paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3. And at the bottom of each page, you've got questions that go with each, right? So Jehovah's Witnesses are expected to answer these questions, or at least they were when I was going, when the book study was going on, before they discontinued that. You'd raise your hand, wait to be called on, and then you would pretty much just read the answer to that question straight from the book. I mean, you could add your own little flair to it, but yeah, you were expected to just repeat back to them what they told you just now, kind of thing, So anyways, honestly, I would really like to do a little more research on why they discontinued book studies, just as a quick side note, because that was kind of their sleeper cell arrangement. When the world just went to shit, that's whose house you went to, was your book study conductor's house. When Armageddon took place, when the Great Tribulation started, you were supposed to show up at the book study conductor's house. He was like the leader of your cell, of your sleeper cell. So, yeah, I don't know why they discontinued it. I'd be interested in finding that out. But anyways, back to what we were doing. The Bible teaches that God will bring about these changes on the earth. So this is from Revelation 21:4. He will wipe out every tear from their eyes, and death will be no more. Neither will mourning, nor outcry, nor pain be any more. And of course, the completion to that is the former things have passed away. If for any ex-Jehovah's Witnesses in here, they know that verse, and they really play to it. And that is another part of propaganda, is appealing to the emotions of somebody. This is a verse that really appeals to emotions. You will wipe out every tear from their eyes, and death will be no more. Neither will mourning, nor outcry, nor pain be any more. That is the kind of thing that's the kind of verse that you can read to anybody in basically any shitty situation, and it will bring them some kind of comfort, right? So I remember hearing that verse a lot when I was Jehovah's Witness. The lame will leap like the deer. Isaiah 35:6. And then the eyes of the blind will be opened. Isaiah 35:5. All those in the memorial tombs will come out. So obviously they're trying to appeal to anybody with physical ailments, anybody who knows someone with physical ailments or somebody who's died. That's pretty all-encompassing. I think everybody knows somebody who has either died or everyone has been close to somebody who has either died or is physically injured in some way. So they're trying to appeal to everybody by mentioning this stuff. No resident will say, I am sick. There will be an abundance of grain on the earth. What's interesting to me is that last verse, there will be an abundance of grain on the earth, is from Psalm 72:16. And I find that funny because Psalms is basically the Jewish hymnal that existed back then. They unearthed some hymnals and translated it into the Bible. So, I don't know. I just think it's funny that a lot of the time, Jehovah's Witnesses especially are really bad at this, but religious people in general, a lot of the time they'll take the Bible as one big monolith, right? So They feel like it's all inspired of God, and it can all be read like one verse after the other. There's no separation between the books or the chapters. It's all just from God, right? Where in reality, we found these books thousands of years apart. Some of them were pieced together from broken scrolls. Some of them we've found 70 or 80 different copies of, all different from each other. So which one do you pick? I mean, which one is correct? You know, is it the earliest one? Is it the oldest one that we have? Or it's hard to tell, because we know for a fact that some of the earliest writings that we have are actually incorrect. Like the earliest writings of Mark are not the most accurate writings of Mark. We know that, for example, because when you are transcribing something from, so long ago, say 2,000 years ago, which actually the Bible isn't even old. I mean, the Gospels aren't even that old, but we'll just go with 2,000 years ago. When monks were kind of transcribing it, because of course they didn't have typewriters, they didn't have anything like that. They had to copy it by hand. So when they were doing that, there were different types of errors that they would make, right? So one type of error that they'd make is, instead of turning a page, they would accidentally grab 2 pages and turn both pages at the same time. Another type of error that we have found is they would be reading and copying it down, and their eyes would jump from one line down 2. So they would skip a line when they were transcribing. And what you get is something that's a little bit nonsensical, but in some cases, it makes perfect sense if you read it that way. You just cut an entire line out of the Bible, right? And we have, so the earliest manuscripts that we have of the book of Mark, which is the first gospel that was written, we find a lot of errors like that in there. Like when they were copying it over, they made a lot of just type errors like that. And so, yeah, we know for a fact that the earliest writings are not the most accurate or best writings. But which ones do we pick? Which ones are correct? It's hard to tell, really. So anyway, the point here is you have to take things in their context. You have to understand what's being written, what the purpose was of having that thing and writing that thing in the first place. You can't just take a verse from Numbers and mash it in with a verse from Revelation and then another from Daniel and end up with something that you think is correct, because they were written at completely different times for totally different cultures, different people, different purposes, different everything. So anyway, that's at least part of the reason why the 1914 teaching of Jehovah's Witnesses completely falls on its face, because they do that a lot. They borrow verses from all types of different parts of the Bible and mash them together. Anyway. Excuse me. Okay, so this is page 6 of the book. Benefit from what the Bible teaches. Do not quickly dismiss what is presented on the preceding pages as mere wishful thinking. God has promised to bring these things about, and the Bible explains how he will do so. But the Bible does more than that. It provides the key to your enjoying a truly satisfying life, even now. Think for a moment about your own anxieties and troubles. They may include money matters, family problems, loss of health, or the death of a loved one. Now, anybody reading this is going to just look at that and say, hey, that describes me. Because just about everybody has one of these few things: anxieties over something, right? Or troubles over something. Money matters, family problems, poor health, or the death of a loved one. Yeah, I can tell you for sure that I do have some of these myself. I definitely have family problems. Thank you, Jehovah's Witnesses, for that. Let's see. No, I'm reasonably healthy, I guess. And I'm actually lucky enough that I've never had to deal with the death of somebody who I was close to yet. It's inevitable, but I've been lucky in that so far. So continuing on, the Bible can help you to deal with with problems today, and it can provide relief by answering such questions as these: why do we suffer? How can we cope with life's anxieties? How can we make our family life happier? What happens to us when we die? Will we ever see our dead loved ones again? How can we be sure that God will fulfill his promises for the future? Now, most people who read this are going to be interested in the answers to these questions. So what they're banking on is that they're going to get somebody who has an open mind and is willing to believe just about anything and is willing to listen. If they can get their foot in the door in that way, then they're set. The fact that you're reading this book shows that you would like to find out what the Bible teaches. See, right there, the fact that you're reading it shows that, I mean, they're prepping you for becoming Jehovah's Witness. This is also not only the book that we read when we were doing the book study every week. This is also the book that you study with prospective new witnesses, people who are studying to get baptized or something. Notice that the paragraphs have corresponding questions at the bottom of the page. See, this is for complete novices, people who haven't really been in the religion for long. They're just kind of learning the ropes. Millions have enjoyed using the question and answer method when discussing the Bible with Jehovah's Witnesses. We hope you will too. May you have God's blessing as you now enjoy the thrilling and satisfying experience of learning what the Bible really teaches. What the Bible really teaches. So, Jehovah's Witnesses, they have the answers. Nobody else does. You don't have the answers. The only people that have the answers are Jehovah's Witnesses, and it's in this book, and you won't know it until you read that book. So let's read it and find out what it really teaches. Get to know your Bible. There are 66 books and letters that make up the Bible. 66 books and letters. Oh, okay, like letters to Ephesians or whoever else. Okay, that makes sense. Like written letters mailed out to people or whatever. These are divided into chapters and verses for easy reference. When scriptures are cited in this publication, the first number after the name indicates the chapter of the Bible book or letter, and the next refers to the verse. For example, the citation 2 Timothy 3:16, that's like such a familiar verse. I remember hearing that quoted so many times when I was Jehovah's Witness. Means the second letter to Timothy, chapter 3, verse 16. Wow, this is just straight up for like Bible novices, like people that have never even read the Bible. You will quickly become familiar with the Bible by looking up the scriptures cited in this publication. Also, why not start a program of daily Bible reading? By reading 3 to 5 chapters a day, you can read the entire Bible in a year. Yeah, and they actually, when I was in it, they had these, like at my Kingdom Hall, somebody had printed out these bookmarks with like a yearly Bible schedule where you could start on this day and then in a year you could have it all read if you followed this schedule. Kind of interesting that they encourage people to read the Bible, because in my view, that's like the quickest way to turn somebody atheist. So anyways, yeah, so that's the opening bit. So this is chapter 1. What is the truth about God? Does God really care about you? What is God like? Does he have a name? Is it possible to get close to God? Now remember, this is just kind of their entry into Jehovah's Witnesses. So they're starting real basic here. They're assuming you know absolutely nothing about the religion. In fact, they're banking on it. They're hoping that that's the case. Okay, so have you ever noticed the way children ask questions? Many start asking as soon as they learn to speak. With wide, eager eyes, they look up at you and ask such things as, why is the sky blue? What are the stars made of? Who taught the birds to sing? You may try hard to answer, but it's not always easy. Even your best answer may lead to yet another question. Why? Okay, now, make note here. Who taught the birds to sing? I don't ever remember any kid asking the question, who taught the birds to sing? I can conceive of a kid asking the question, how did the birds learn to sing? That's an oddly targeted question. That's an oddly worded question. Who taught the birds to sing? Inherent in that question is the implication there was a teacher who taught them to do something, right? There was somebody before them who gave them that ability. So, I don't know. If you're studying this with Jehovah's Witnesses, you probably have a belief in God in the first place, but they're just reinforcing that. So, anyways, or at least your mind is open to the possibility. So, if you notice at the bottom here, it's questions 1 and 2. So, if we were in like a Jehovah's Witness setting, they would read both paragraphs and then ask the question. So, even your best answer may lead to yet another question. Why? Children are not the only ones who ask questions. As we grow up, we keep asking. We do this in order to find our way, to learn of dangers that we need to avoid, or to satisfy our curiosity. But many people seem to stop asking questions, especially the most important ones. At least they stop searching for the answers. Now here's a question. Why is it often good to ask questions? So, this is a problem I dealt with a lot when I was in Jehovah's Witnesses. Even when I wasn't actually at the meeting, even if I was just studying on my own, when I read these paragraphs, I would just completely zone out. Like, I would have to read the paragraphs multiple times to absorb the information because it's so dry and boring to me after studying how many magazines, how many books over how many years. I mean, I was in it until I was 18, and I was really active until I was about 17, so thousands of paragraphs. Oh, God, it makes me sick. Why is it often good to ask questions? So if I was Jehovah's Witness, I would say, if I was like at a meeting or something, and they were asking for my answer, I would want to look for something in the paragraph. Let's see. Why is it good to ask questions? We do this in order to find our way, to learn of dangers that we need to avoid, or to satisfy our curiosity. So that would be the part that I'd highlight, and then I'd try to add my own little spin to it. Okay, I'm going to be taking guests in about 5 minutes, just letting you guys know. So this is paragraph 3. Think about the question on the cover of this book, the questions raised in the preface, or those at the beginning of this chapter. These are some of the most important questions you can ask, yet many people have given up trying to find the answers. Hold on, wait a minute, wait 1 second. Why is the sky blue? What are the stars made of? And who taught the birds to sing? I didn't give up looking for the answers to those questions. Are they? Oh, okay, they're talking about these questions. Does God really care about you? What is God like? Does he have a name? Is it possible to get close to God? Okay. Okay, so they're back to the boring questions. They're back to the God questions. I understand. Hang on 1 second. Just gotta close something that's dinging. Sorry, guys. Anyway. So, back to the paragraph. Yet many people have given up trying to find the answers. Why? Does the Bible have the answers? Some feel that its answers are too hard to understand. Others worry that asking questions could lead to shame or embarrassment. And some decide that such questions are best left to religious leaders and teachers. What about you? Shame and embarrassment. I'm not sure what shame and embarrassment could come from asking questions like this. Like, these are not embarrassing questions. Does God really care about you? I don't know. I don't know if that... I don't know. Maybe that is embarrassing. Who knows? For some people. So here's the question for paragraph 3. Why do many stop trying to find answers to the questions that matter most? And of course, a Jehovah's Witness would answer, some feel that its answers are too hard to understand. Others worry that asking questions could lead to shame or embarrassment. So obviously, they're not looking for your personal answer. They're looking for the book's answer, and they're looking for you to prove that you understand what the book is trying to communicate. Like, this whole format is just fascinating to me. I mean, it's designed to indoctrinate people, and it's fascinating to me that more people don't just see straight through it. Like, that blows my mind. So we got paragraph 4 here. Very likely you're interested in getting answers to life's big questions. No doubt you sometimes wonder, what is the purpose of life? Is this life all there is? What is God really like? It's good to ask such questions, and it's important that you do not give up until you find satisfying, reliable answers. The famous teacher Jesus Christ said, okay. He said, keep on asking and it will be given to you. Keep on seeking and you will find. Keep on knocking and it will be open to you. So here's their goal with the whole thing. Jehovah's Witnesses' goal is to appeal to everybody. Put something in here that they think that every person that's going to read this book is going to be interested in. And they want to blend in with typical Christianity so they don't seem shady, so they don't seem like a cult, right? So they mentioned Jesus a couple of times. They haven't said the name Jehovah at all because they don't want to, they want to just take it nice and slow. They want to just slide in nice and easy. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of obvious what they're doing here, and it's kind of disgusting. But it's really fascinating because these people have perfected the art of indoctrination, brainwashing, mind control. They have perfected this over a century. So, I mean, they know what they're doing, and they do it so well. It's really, really fascinating. So anyway, we may pick up on this again at another time. For the moment, I would like to switch to guests. And my first guest here, I have Sky Everest. Are you there, Sky Everest? Testing? I can see you lighting up, but I can't hear anything. Nope, can't hear anything. Sadness. Sad, as Trump would say. Sad. All right, I'm going to mute you for the moment. I'll come back to you in a little bit and see if we can get you back on. That's kind of disappointing. But, yeah, so the next person I'll bring on for the moment in the interim is C. Are you there, C? C? Testing?
Yep,
Hey.
I'm here.
How's it going?
All right.
That's good. So, yeah, we talked last time on my main channel, but we kind of couldn't get it to work super well at the end there, huh?
Yeah, I was at Canada's Wonderland, so.
Right. How was it? Was it any fun?
Yeah, it was fun.
That's cool. So you're a supporter of mine, and you're also a Christian, right?
Yes, correct.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that I have Christian supporters. I say this every now and then, but I would like to think that that we can unite. Like, of course, I'm atheist, but I like to think that I can unite with Christians against extremism, and support moderates. Right? I mean, that would be my goal. So anyway.
That makes sense.
So, like, what denomination of Christianity are you?
I'm just, I identify as Protestant, but I go to the United Church of Canada, which identifies as their own thing.
Okay, so, yeah, we talked about this a little bit last time, but
yeah,
it was a little bit hard to understand, so I'm going to kind of go through the same questions a little bit, see if we can get down to the truth here. So, what's it like? I mean, what is your, so, like, Catholic Mass is very different from Jehovah's Witnesses meetings, which is very different from Methodist Church. So, what is yours like? Like, walk me through an average Sunday morning for you.
I go early because I'm on the worship team. But
what's the worship team?
We lead the music.
Okay.
And basically, we have lots of different worship songs we go through, and then we have our pastor. She's a woman. She comes up and she does her little sermon for the week, and it's really nice because we have like a small congregation, so we get to be really able to talk in the middle of the service sometimes and like interact with her while she's talking, which is really nice.
Right.
And everyone gets to say something if they want to say something, and it's not like, people can ask questions or
right. So it's not like
their
restrictive, like you're allowed to go talk to her and all that stuff. That's what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah.
Right, I'm with you. That's pretty cool. So how do you like, how long have you been in it? How do you like it so far?
I grew up technically United Church until I was about 7, and then my parents
Okay.
had stopped going to church.
Mm.
Um and I'm the one who wanted to go back, and I begged my parents to go back. And we started going back when I was about 11, and we went to Salvation Army. But as of about a year and a half ago, I had my little revelation of what do I actually think and what do I actually believe, and it made me leave the Salvation Army and go to the United Church, back to them. I'm glad I kind of knew about them because they accept LGBT people, and they don't take the Bible necessarily very literally and stuff. They accept
Okay.
science, all that kind of stuff. So,
Very cool. So, you said the Salvation Army.
yes, I was in the
Interesting.
Salvation Army from the time I was 11 till I was like 21.
Okay, so that's a church?
Yes, it
I
started
didn't know
out
that.
as a church.
Okay,
Yeah.
because of course I'm sure you know where I know them from, and that's they stand outside Walmart ringing the bell, and you do the donation thing and all that, right?
Yeah. I from a from their family services point of view, I still support them in that way because
Mm,
growing up, my mom worked for the church and I did a lot of volunteer for work for them,
mm,
and I can say for a fact that we never discriminated against anyone. We helped anyone who came in. They have their bread they give out, and then they have
mm.
hampers at Christmas time and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the church portion of it, they're still kind of living in the past and they don't
Right.
want to come forward with, realizing,
So they're
people
kind
are
of like
not.
they're kind of traditionalists or whatever. They're not big fans of like the LGBT community and that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Okay, I got
Exactly.
you. Yeah, I've
They're not.
actually on a as a side note there, I'm probably going to get so much shit for saying this, but when Alpha Force Zero was younger, we'd always see like the Salvation Army people outside Walmart, of course. And every
Ringing the
time
bells.
I'd walk by them with her, I would growl at them just as a joke. They probably had no idea I was even doing it. Probably couldn't even hear
Yeah.
me. And she would just laugh so hard when I did that. And I'd be like, I'd just walk up to them and be like, okay, growl with me as we walk by. I don't know. I just thought it was funny. They probably
I used
walked
to
out
do
of
the
the
kettle.
exchange completely confused at worst, but
Yeah. I used to do the kettles, and I did it as a job quite a few years, and
so
oh
how do
my
you feel about
goodness,
them
it is a lot.
now?
Well, like I said, I support the family services portion because they do
Yeah,
help a lot of people, and especially in Canada, they are second next to the government for helping people. So
really.
in that aspect, I will 100% support them because it's like 90 some odd percent of their funds actually go back into their programs that help people.
Mm.
But from a church perspective, I just couldn't anymore
Mm,
because I was like, I used to disagree with homosexuality, but I agreed with homosexual marriage because I felt like it didn't hurt anybody. So what was the
sure.
big deal? But I came to realize that I didn't think it was actually wrong anymore. And I, I'm pretty sure a lot of them are young earth creationists. And
Yeah,
I've decided that I don't think that um, a lot of
that
the Old
model
Testament
stands up
is
around.
literal. So,
Okay, well that's I mean that's good. I'm glad to hear that you're kind of moving in a more of a scientific direction with it and things. So my main qualm with it is that I've heard that they have been anti LGBTQ plus whatever whatever other letters you want to add to the end of that.
yeah,
Um, they've been anti-LGBT in the past, and that's been kind of a main concern for me with donating to
yeah.
them.
That
Um,
I get why someone might be.
yeah.
The the sign stuff has always been debunked on Snopes. If you look up
Mm.
when people have their signs and they say "Don't gay people can't donate" or da 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 da, that
Mm.
stuff gets
That's all
debunked.
fake.
Um, but there
Hmm.
have been off and on instances of certain pastors not allowing people due to them being transgender or homosexual or whatever, but that more has to do with I feel a corrupt individual
Mm.
because the way the way their stuff is set up, their family services, they're not supposed to turn anybody away. It works by your income if
Right.
you're low enough income to receive the help. But, you know, I don't know. I
Right.
worked in it, so I know. So that's why probably I would feel more comfortable. But
So you'd be
I'm
more
also in
comfortable
Canada.
donating to them then, is what you're saying?
Yeah, but I'm also in Canada, so Canada might be slightly different than the US.
Right. Yeah, I do wonder like what the differences are between the U.S. Branches or the U.S. headquarters or whatever and the Canadian one, because I don't know, that'd be kind of interesting to study. But yeah, generally I will not donate anything monetary to a church. However, I have been known to donate my time to a church, to Alpha Force Zero's church. I'll go there and help her grandma cook for the church or whatever. But yeah, I don't think I would give money. I'd just give time. And maybe I'd give like toys for Christmas or something. That'd probably be
Yeah,
okay.
well, yeah, my old church used to do a Santa's breakfast every year, and people would donate toys for that.
Right. See, that would be okay. I think my main concern would be knowing where my money is going and ensuring it's going to the right place. So if I can see
That
that it's
makes
going to the
sense.
right place, then I'd probably be okay with it, you know?
Yeah, I can understand the iffiness there.
Yeah.
I guess because with me, I worked with them for so many years. I know for a fact that that's where majority of the money goes. It's
Right.
their programs that go back to help people. So,
So it makes
you
you a
know,
lot more comfortable with it.
exactly.
Right. That makes sense. Well, I appreciate you coming on and talking to me, and I'm sure we'll talk in the supporters chat pretty soon, though, okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
sure
bye.
thing.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like I said, I'm not really sure how I feel personally about donating to any church entity, and I've heard bad things about Salvation Army. They may be incorrect. Maybe I'll just go through the Salvation Army's thing in a video one of these days and just give an honest analysis. But anyways, yeah, that's really interesting. Before I continue, let me just close some things here because some stuff keeps dinging, and I think you guys can hear it in the background. So let me just close that. Now the next...
We can't.
No, well, you can't, but the live stream might be able to because it's streaming straight to YouTube. Oops, ignore that. Anyway, okay, so the next person on the list was going to be Squinny, but actually I wanted to come back to Sky Everest if she's here, see if we can get her back on. Are you there, Sky Everest? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Test?
Test? Can you hear me?
I can. You're pretty quiet, but I can amplify it a little bit.
I
So,
might be able to turn up my mic.
so what do you identify as? I've been calling you female. Are you male?
I am trans, so I'm male to female.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Well, welcome to the Discord. So, you and I talked the other day because you put an error correction in there where you were talking about Jehovah's Witnesses and what they believe about the order of creation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, in one of my videos, and I ended up actually going in there. So in the Discord, I created a channel called Error Corrections, right? I'll just give a quick basic summary of this. And anybody can go in there and just give a correction if they think I got something incorrect. And Sky Everest actually found an error where I don't remember. I need to go back and watch the video again, exactly what I said. But basically, I said the order of creation was light and then plants and then the sun or something like that. Where in reality, Jehovah's Witnesses believe that the light was the sun. When the light was created, that was the sun being created, which would allow for plants. So the sun was created before plants, and it's some big weird knot they've twisted themselves into. But I appreciate the error correction. I'm going to take a look at that, see if maybe I can just re-script and re-record that video. So, anyway, back on track. So you are an ex-Jehovah's Witness currently, aren't you?
I am.
So when did you leave?
I left back when I was 19. So that was about 5 years ago in 2013.
Okay. Wow, you've been out for a while. I think I left in 2008 or maybe 2007, so got a couple of years on you, not too much, but what was it that got you to decide to leave? What was the straw that broke the camel's back with that?
Well, my parents were Jehovah's Witnesses,
Mm.
and they didn't practice what they preached.
Mm.
So as well as everyone was taught things, and then in different houses they would have different rules, and they weren't all on the same page. So I knew there was something wrong in the religion.
Right.
So
Right. Very fascinating. By the way, before I continue with the questions, I actually had some more questions for you, but I heard that you had some questions for me. Is that accurate, or?
I did, but I don't remember them.
Okay, well, if at any point you do remember them, then just stop me and ask, and I'll address that. But anyway, so that's really interesting. So you were born into it, you said?
No, I was adopted into it.
Okay, you were adopted into it, right. And how long were you Jehovah's Witness total from like when you first got adopted in to when you left?
8 years.
8 years,
From 2005 to 2013.
Okay, 2005 to 2013. I'm trying to think about what was going on in the organization during that time. I feel like after I left in like 2007, 2008, there was a lot of new light. So you were, I feel like you told me like 11 when you first joined it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I don't know how much you remember from that time period, but I know a lot of new light started kind of coming out of the woodwork around 2011, 2012, 2013. Do you remember like any of those major changes?
Not really. I remember 2000 and whatever it was, where they abolished the book study groups, and it was really weird.
Yeah, that was a big change, for sure. That was actually right after I had left, but I remember hearing about it because my mom still kind of talked to me. Well, she didn't really talk to me. She talked to my family and me a little bit, so that she could talk to my daughter. Of course, she wanted to get to my daughter. But, yeah, I remember hearing about it through that. And that was a really weird change. I'm still kind of surprised they ended up doing that. Because it feels like that was like their sleeper cell, really. I mean, that was their way of keeping in contact with each other when Armageddon went down or the Great Tribulation or whatever. So that kind of blows my mind. But anyways, yeah. So did you end up getting baptized or no?
I didn't.
You didn't? Okay. So are you still dealing with like shunning and stuff anyways, even though you weren't baptized?
Yeah, well, I told my parents I was trans, and then I told them that I wanted surgery eventually to change myself fully, and my dad told me that I didn't want to talk to me again, and then my mom told me that she didn't want to talk to me either, and my dad told me that he felt sick talking to me, and so
that's so sad. I'm sorry that you have to go through all that. That's really shitty. I guess you could say that I'm lucky enough that I've never had to deal with that kind of experience. Although, of course, my mom has told me that she didn't want to talk to me anymore, but I can't say she's ever said she felt sick talking to me. I don't know. She may have actually said that to me. It's possible she has. But anyways, yeah, I'm sorry I had to go through that. But either way, the way I see it is I'm in a lot better place in my life now than I could possibly have been if I'd stayed on the inside. I mean, things are just so much easier. don't have to study constantly, don't have to go in service, knocking on doors all the time. I can just live my life and not have to worry anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, so at the very least, that is a huge relief to me. Now, as far as my family goes, they're gone. I mean, they're gone by their own choice. I wish they weren't, but here we sit. So if they ever decide to talk to me again, then I will consider it. It's going to be hard for me to decide to talk to them again, though, after what my mom did, you know, abandoning me the way she did. But I don't know. I'd consider it. I don't know that I could play the game that she's playing by not talking to her, right? I feel like I would be obligated to at least try to have a relationship with her if she ever did try again. But I doubt she ever will. How do you feel? Do you think that your family will probably ever talk to you again or attempt to?
Well, my mom passed away like a couple weeks after telling me she didn't want to talk to me again, and so there's that, and then my dad, I don't think will ever talk to me again because he's.
That's really interesting. So tell me the story. Like, what happened when you were on your way out?
Well, I was being driven home by my parents, and so we got into a discussion about about the fact that there was something that I needed to bring up to them, and then they're like, are you gay? And then I'm like, no, I'm trans, and so then my parents told me they didn't want to talk to me, and so that was fine. I had already moved out of their place, and I sort of had in the back of their mind that they would say that then. So
yeah, so you were kind of prepared for that eventuality, is what you're saying?
Well, yeah, and I was adopted, and they treated me very poorly. They beat me up and stuff.
Yeah.
So I knew they didn't love me from the start.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we're in a much better place now than we could have possibly been on the inside. So I know the pain that you feel over the whole situation. I know not many people can say this, but I understand at least part of it. So we're in it together. We'll make it through. Just bear with me. We will get rid of the Watchtower Society together. Just give it a little bit of time, okay?
Yeah, but I've met more friends leaving than I ever did inside.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but the people on the inside, like in my congregation, were really stuck up, and I don't know. They just didn't really want to hang out with me at all. I don't know. Maybe it's just my congregation, but that was my experience. And then when I got out on the outside, I met so many people who were supportive and helpful and cared for me like their own family, you know. But anyway.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of what they teach there.
Yeah.
They teach that they're the supportive ones, and then that the world won't support you if you leave.
Yep. That's true. It's like that, you know, they say the world is just this dirty, disgusting, evil, sick place, and you're doomed if you're out there on your own. It's all part of the brainwashing. It's all part of the scam to keep you on the inside. But I appreciate you coming on and talking to me, and maybe we'll talk again sometime. I know it was a little bit short, but I'm running a little low on time, so I'm going to have to let you go. But we'll talk a little bit later on, okay?
Okay, take care.
All right, thanks for coming on. Yeah. So many sad stories. So many sad stories. I can't stand it. So, anyway. Okay, the next person in line, I've been trying my damnedest to get her on for like ever. Now, let's see if this is the time. Squinty, are you there? Can you hear me, Squinty?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I have my bedroom door closed. Everything is fine, and I'm so excited to finally be able to talk.
Awesome.
I'm very much looking forward to it.
Awesome. Okay.
Am I loud enough? Speaking of which, am I loud enough?
Yeah, you're good. I'll amplify a little bit on this end too. So you're absolutely perfect. You. So tell me your story. Like, what religion did you come from? Are you still religious or?
At the moment, I say to myself, yes, I am atheist, but I still kind of go to church and stuff because I haven't told my parents yet because my dad, he grew up very, very Catholic. My mom was Lutheran originally, and then she converted after she met my dad and stuff.
So they converted to Catholicism, you said?
Well, my mom did, yes.
Right, got you. Okay.
So personally, I mean, they kind of, I don't know how to explain it. So basically, I still kind of participate in being a Catholic, even though I just kind of go through the motions part of the time.
Sure.
Although they really only make sure my sister gets to church often. Me and my brother, well, my brother's a special case that I would not prefer to discuss at this moment.
Okay. That's fine.
But with me, they're kind of just like, oh, you're going to stay home with your brother and watch him and make sure that, he doesn't burn the house down while we take your sister to church. Like just yesterday, that's exactly what they did. I stayed home with my brother, and then my mom and dad went to church, and they brought my sister with them because she was altar serving. And then afterwards, they went and dropped her off at her friend's house and then came home. So they just don't really care as much if I go to church or not.
That sounds like a good deal, actually. I mean, I don't know what's going on with your brother, but
the main issue that I have is that, and this is where I really feel bad, is that I got confirmed this past April. Which, do you know what confirmation is?
I think I do, but we'll go ahead and tell me so the rest of the audience knows.
All right. So basically what it is it's when you get to about 15 or 16 years old in the Catholic Church, is that you'll go through, and it's basically where you get renewed in the Holy Spirit. And it's when you essentially become an adult in the Catholic Church. And I felt really bad about it because that was, it was when I had been like, yeah, I really kind of don't believe in this. But I still kind of went through with it because I was really terrified and I didn't want to let people down. And by that point, I had already asked my sponsor to be my sponsor, and she's someone who just really means a lot to me, and I didn't want to let her down. So I kind of just went through with it. And at the moment, I'm kind of just biding my time for another 2 years until I graduate high school, before I say anything at all. And while I kind of, it's like I poke my foot in the water, testing the waters, trying to figure out where my parents would stand on that.
That's a really good idea. Like a lot of the time, people can't deal with hiding it anymore, and it's just like this internal struggle. So I'm really glad to hear that you seem to be handling it okay, right? I mean, you aren't having a hard time with that.
Another thing I feel I should bring up, I also go to an all-girls Catholic school, that might also play into that.
Right? Oh man, you are like fully immersed in this culture right now.
Also, I think I might have brought this up when I talked to you after the stream a few weeks ago. I went to a 2-week leader in training session at a Catholic camp.
Right. What was that like?
I actually quite enjoyed it a lot. They don't really shove it down your throat a lot. And 3 times a week you have either mass, like full on mass with like a priest and everything, or you have a thing called God time where it's kind of like mass, but like with a lot of music, and there's no Eucharistic liturgy. There's no receiving the body or blood of Christ. You
so
just
like
do a
no
lot
communion.
of singing. Yeah, no communion, and you just sing a lot of songs instead. And honestly, that's actually kind of fun because like, even like when you just do the responses for mass, like for example, and with your spirit, or like we lift them up to the Lord, stuff like that, like they make it fun.
Right.
So like, and they're like, actually one of my counselors is actually looking into Wicca. She's like, yeah, I'm not Catholic, but I can't she's like, I can't promote, paganism at camp, but she was super chill about it.
That's interesting. So they kind of have a little bit of a wide variety of people there then.
Definitely. I would say that a majority of the campers are either Catholic or Christian, but they are very accepting of everyone. They're honestly, it's a safe space. Like, for example, since I was a leadership and I was in the LIT program, I call it, we had to go and do a talk along with all the counselor in trainings, where we discussed what would happen if a camper, for example, like if they, revealed something that they necessarily didn't want to reveal, such as like abuse or something, where they have a thing where they will, if they have an idea that will happen, then they will not send a camper home. They will do everything in their power to make sure that camper is safe. So I feel that like if something ever happened at home and I would not, for example, next year when I'm doing the CIT program, because I want to be a counselor there, if something happened, then they would make sure that like, if there was some sort of imminent danger, if like my parents found out, I'm atheist.
Right.
And they'd do everything in their power. It doesn't matter what, and I make sure that I'm safe, because that's their priority, is to keep us safe.
Good. I mean, that's good to hear then. It sounds like a legit camp in that case.
Yeah, it's honestly a wonderful camp. And the great thing about my training session was that we were all girls, which I feel was the most amazing thing, because I went home with 15 brand new friends who I trust so much. And it's wonderful.
Got really close to him there.
Yeah, I really did, over the course of only 2 weeks. It's just, yeah.
Good. So, I mean, that's good to hear. So I guess it's not like a destructive force in your life right now. Is that fair to say? It's just kind of that you've moved past religion mostly.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I still kind of find it hard to like move past it, but
yeah.
The funny thing is, I have, if from my point of view right now, I can see 3 Bibles in my room right now. So
right.
I'm kind of just like, because one of them's my school Bible, that it's just the New Catholic Edition Bible. Another one is a teenage Bible. It's like meant for teens, that I got while I was going through my confirmation sessions and stuff, because I needed to go through and go to like classes. And then the third one was a gift from my confirmation sponsor, which I really love it. It's a really, really nice Bible. So I have it in its own little spot, because like, even though I don't believe in it anymore, I still want to treat that, because it's sentimental to me. Like, it's
I
a gift
understand.
from someone who I care about.
Yeah, I'm with you. I actually like when I got baptized, which I guess is kind of similar to confirmation in the sense that like you're kind of all in with this organization now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I got baptized, you're not supposed to give gifts when people get baptized, but I did get a briefcase. Anyway. I got a briefcase, and I actually still have it, and I still value that briefcase. I don't use it for anything, but it's sentimental, so.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So, also, I might add, because we do have theology classes, and I actually quite enjoy them. Over the past 2 years, I focused on, first I studied the Old Testament sort of stuff, and then this past year I studied all of the Gospels and a bunch of the New Testament stuff, which that was actually kind of fun. Because, like, for example, you can give me, like, some sort of passage from any of the 4 Gospels, and I can probably give a pretty good guess as to what Gospel it's from. Because, like, I learned, for example, John's Gospel is not like the rest of them, which they're called the Synoptic Gospel because they're similar to each other. And that, for example, John's Gospel focuses on high Christology. It focuses on Jesus's more divine aspects, whereas Matthew, Mark, and Luke focus on low Christology, or Jesus being more human and stuff. Like, for example, remember that passage where he gets mad at a fig tree? He's showing anger, which is a really human emotion. So, like, it's really interesting, but you learn.
That is interesting. And like, some people may say that it's not valuable once you leave, but I feel like it's one of the most valuable things about going to church is learning that information. That's why I send Alpha Force Zero, or Kylie. That's why I send Kylie to church, is because I want her to be involved in that culture. I mean, I don't know. She probably won't grow up to believe it, probably. Mm-hmm. But also, I want her to know it, you know?
Yeah, also, church just kind of gives you even if you don't necessarily believe, like, for example, my friends, again, we all go to a all-girls school, but, like, most of them don't bat an eye at the fact that, like, I just don't believe it. Like, one of my friends, like, she's very Jewish, and then she's also like her dad's Jewish, and then her
Right.
mom's Christian. So she celebrates kind of like all these different holidays. So like everyone's kind of just a mashing pot, even though it's, you know, a Catholic school, we're all kind of a mashing pot. And
Right.
one of the most interesting things I think my mom told me was that my school is actually the top private school for Muslim families, which I found was interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, I actually have probably 2 or 3 like really good friends of mine who are Muslim, and I think it's such a cool thing that we are like, because before I went to that school, I did not even know that other religions existed, and that was probably
Right.
like 5th or 6th grade. And then once I started going there in 7th and 8th grade, I like my eyes were just opened, and I'm like, there's this whole other world out there. There's like all of this amazing stuff, and I'm like, why was this hidden from me? It just, you know,
Right.
it kind of made me start questioning things. And then it was about, I'd say, a year ago that I started to be like, I don't believe this.
That's really interesting. Well, I'm glad to hear that you found your way out of religion, and I'm glad that it's not an oppressive force for you either, right?
Yeah, it's not oppressive, but like, for example, at dinner the other night, my dad was like, "Did you guys go to church today?" And because like he always goes on Saturdays, so if we don't go with him, then it's up to my mom to like get us there. So like he's like, "Aren't you guys Christian?" And I'm just like in my head, I'm like, "No, Dad, I'm not."
Right.
So I'm just like, you know, kind of having to deal with it, but it's not the worst thing in the world.
Right.
I just, because my dad, again, he's very, very conservative and stuff. My mom's kind of in the middle. I'm very liberal. So it's kind of like the different ends of the political spectrum.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I can talk to my mom about, for example, LGBT stuff, but I cannot talk to my dad about that at all. Like if I brought it up, I'd probably get kicked out of the house.
Oof, that's too bad. But at least you found a balance. I mean, that's a plus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I appreciate you coming on and talking to me. Finally got it to work.
Yes, I finally.
It's been really interesting. But we'll talk to you again sometime, okay?
Yes, I would love. I would enjoy it so much. I had so much fun talking.
Yeah,
today.
Me too. All right, bye.
All right, bye.
Yeah, that's really interesting. A lot of the time, religion is an oppressive force, as we heard with Sky Everest. It was damaging. It's harmful, outright harmful in her life. And it's harmful. It has been harmful in my life. But honestly, at this point in my life, it's worked to my advantage. All of the knowledge that I've gained, all of the experience from religion has all worked to my advantage, so that I can help others who are dealing with this oppressiveness or this pain or torment. So I would not give it up for anything. I would take it all, the good and the bad. I'm glad I was Jehovah's Witness. I'm glad I went through all of it, because it means others may not have to as a result. So anyway, that's all I have for you guys. I appreciate you coming. This is the end of the stream, so I will see you guys next week.